Hey guys, Drag and Drop Coding here. I'm your host, Christian Mishka, and we're going to make a different kind of movement. We're going to make the cat, or sprite, or game object, or whatever, move to a target position, right? So you can click somewhere, the cat will move there and stay there until you click somewhere else. This is found in a lot of different kinds of games, so I thought it would be kind of useful to teach you one way to do it. So there's one way you can do it with variables, but I'm not going to do that way right now. You could probably pretty easily figure out how to do that. Right now I'm going to use no variables. I'm just going to use another sprite to mark our target. So let's create another sprite. I'll go to vector, and then I'll just make it look like a little target. Like this is where we want our cat to go, right here. And then I'll just do some little fancy stuff like this. Don't really need to spend too much time on it. And I kind of like that color, so I'll just leave it gray. So now we've got our target object there. Let's just make the target. How do we want to do this? So we can make the target go to the mouse pointer whenever you click. So if the mouse is down, sensing. So if the mouse is down, then we'll just go to the mouse pointer. Okay, so if I click and hold, then the target goes to the mouse pointer. If I let go, then it doesn't. So I can kind of tell the cat, I want you to go here, 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 here. And then let me rename this to target and rename this to cat. Okay, and then we can do the scripts for our cat to go to the target. Alright, so the basic way we're going to do this is forever. This is pretty much how I set up my scripts always. So when it's clicked, forever do this. So we want our cat to go to this little guy here. Okay, so it's kind of like the mouse follow. We could do it different ways, but I'll just do this one first. So we could point towards, instead of the mouse pointer, point towards our target. Then we will move 10 steps. And there, now it's at the target. Looks all crazy, just like the mouse pointer. We're going to do that same little trick. We'll just do if we're not touching the target. And I'll change this in a minute to something better. So if we're not touching the target, then go to the target. So now it's going to the target. I'm going to make the cat have a rotation style of left and right. Okay, so he goes to the target, goes to the target, goes to the target. He's not exactly on it. I want his position to be pretty exact, so let's try to fix that up a bit. So instead of if we're not touching the target, let's change that logic to something else. So if it's not what? Basically, if its X position and Y position are not the same as the target's. So we can get the X position of the target using this fancy little block down here. And we can get the Y position using the same thing, right? So Y position. These are the variables that belong to the target object. So if these are not equal, so if they're not equal, so if the X is not the same as the target X and the Y is not the same as the target Y, then it's not at the right position, so it needs to update, right? So if neither of these is true, if it's not the right X and it's not the right Y, then we need to update. Let's try that. So you notice it's still jumping around because it's moving 10 steps always. So if we change this to 1, then it would probably stop moving right once it got to the right spot. So I'm going to let it go there, and it should stop moving once it gets to the right spot. Well, maybe not. Okay, so one thing about this is, the X position is not always going to be exact. So what we can do is we can just say the X position. I'm just going to make it always say the X position so we can compare, and then I'll drag this into the target as well so we can see what it's saying as well. So you see it's like 92.96 and it's comparing it to 92, so those numbers aren't exact. One way around this, we could do something better. We could do a distance formula to make sure it's the right distance. Of course, that gets a little complicated because then you'd have to write your own block to do that. Or we could just round these numbers off. We could round our x position and round the y position and see if that works better. So now it stopped moving, and it's 51.95 and versus 52. Of course, we're not saying the rounded position, but now if we say the rounded position, x position, they're exactly the same. Cool. So if we just round them, that makes it better. Of course, I think we'll still have problems if we make this 10 because it will jump past the position, right? So see, it's all jumping around. One way you could do this is, again, if we had distance, we could make it move less as we got closer to it, or something like that. Or, even better, we can add another logic in here, right? So normally we want it to move 10, but let's say if we're already, so let's say if we're normally want it to move 10, right? But if we're touching the target, we want to get to the center of the target, we can just make it move 1, so we can make it move slower. So that would be interesting, maybe. So I'll put it up here, it moves 10, and then it moves 1 until it gets to the right position. So now we've created a movement system where you can control where your cat goes, and it goes to a target position. And this is one way of doing it. Again, there's other ways you can implement the moving, and you can make it more smooth. You can add velocity. I'll add a video on velocity, and you can come back and edit this project and maybe move that in. Of course, we can go over the distance formula to make sure that it's going in the right distance, or make it slow down as it gets closer to the right position. We can do all sorts of things to make this better, but this is just the basics. So I hope you got something from this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.